Welcome back to another F1 100 laps challenge, but this time we have multiple different twists. We will be driving 100 laps in cockpit camera on 4 different circuits, which is the length of 5 Monaco Grand Prix. We will be starting off at the Hungaro Ring, then moving to the next race on the calendar at Zandvoort, skipping the next 3 races on the calendar and doing another double whammy at Las Vegas and ending it off in Qatar, my favourite track. On lap 1 in the 4th turn, I managed to spin out for the first time, and by the way that corner is mad with this camera, and turns 6 and 7.
I thought of something funnier than 24.
Let me hear it.
Or the reason I hate Hungary. I can never do it right and it takes up half the track, so it's quite important to nail. Something I forgot to mention is that on top of being in cockpit cam, I will be trying to set a top 15% lap time on each of these circuits before the 100 laps, just to add some more spice. And my goal is to complete this challenge on as many tracks as possible. In my opinion, this is the worst track in the world, and I have to drive it in this camera. Are you mad? I set my first lap of this challenge and it's a pitiful 141.5. I decided to change my settings to a more realistic view and it made this challenge so much more fun. I love these settings so much that I might keep using them. By lap 5 we had made solid progress. We had a clean run through turn 6 and 7, leaving with a great run and a positive delta. I wasn't brave on this lap, but as we were going to the final corner, we're almost 5 tenths up on our delta. Finishing this lap with a 120.3. This next lap was even better. We gain a whole second in the first sector. We only lose 3 tenths by the end of sector 2. And we finish the lap with a 1:19.4, 9 tenths quicker. Onto lap 22 now, where we are throwing the car into these corners with such confidence and aggression, knowing there's nothing to lose. We get an amazing run through the chicane using all the curves to my advantage. 2 purple sectors, this was looking to be an amazing lap. Leaving the final corner 600ths of a second quicker, setting a 1:18.8. This was such a good lap, it took 23 laps to improve, but the final sector was the slowest part of that lap, so I just had to survive the first 2 sectors and set a good final sector. We gained 4 tenths in the first 2 corners of sector 3. And finished the lap 2.5 tenths quicker, setting a 1:18.6. Onto lap 66 of this circuit, we gained an incredible amount of time in sector 2, and at the end we're 3 tenths up and gaining. Hanging on to the limit of the car, we set our best lap time of a 1:18.227. Moving on to lap 69, we're 3 tenths up before turn 6. But by turn 9 our delta is in the negative. We gain a tenth of a second after turn 12, and another tenth after turn 13. Rounding the final corner 2 tenths up and setting a 1:17.999. I thought this was the lap, but we only made it into the top 33% in the world, and we couldn't find any improvement from then till the end.
Yeah, boy.
We finish our 100th lap and set a 117.811 and make it into the top 29%. We were so far off our goal and I just couldn't understand why. On to our next track at the Dutch Grand Prix. Zandvoort is a very technical track with a lot of twists and turns. We unfortunately validated before we set an amazing first lap and we got caught out by that final corner, which is very tricky. We lay down the first lap time of a 1:13.8. We make a decent time improvement on lap 6, setting a 1:12.8, a second quicker than our previous lap. As I start to get more comfortable and braking later, getting the throttle down earlier, having so much confidence in the car, I was able to push as hard as I could in these corners. Still not a perfect lap, but I know where there is time to improve on. We gain another half a second on lap 9, and by lap 13 we were still improving. I hadn't hit a roadblock like I did in Hungary. And we just kept making more time improvements. We had set a beautiful lap with a time of 1:10.9, and we were already doing better than Hungary as we were already into the top 23%. On lap 52 we hadn't done anything spectacular but had a near perfect corner on turn 13. We were 1/10 quicker, and on the next lap we were 3/10 quicker by the final corner. Setting a 1:10.4, and lap 70 was our best lap yet.
I'll get you, bitch!
We had just set a 1:10.376 and we had done it. We just scraped top 15% of Zandvoort and we've completed our challenge here. On to the next track at Las Vegas. It was the trickiest track to drive in cockpit camera as every corner is a blind 90 to 180 degree corner coming up after a massive straight going over 200 miles an hour.
Oh, fuck off.
This is a very beautiful track. Driving past the Sphere and onto the strip where you can see all the casinos and hotels. It's just a crazy sight to have on an F1 track. We finished our first lap, but it wasn't valid, but onto our first valid lap with a 1:53 set us into the top 84% in the world. On lap 4 we had a great run in turn 1. And again in turn 5, gaining loads of time. Going into turns 6 and 7, just stop. Driving past the Venetian Hotel built in the 90s that replaced the Sands Hotel, which is thought to have haunted grounds by its dark ties to the mob since it's opened in the 1950s. Vegas is such a unique destination that holds so many stories with so many buildings and monuments that are just so random. But anyways, back to the racing. We set a 1:37.3, bringing us into the top 67% in the world. On lap 5 we set a much cleaner lap. We were a second faster, which brings us into the top 58%. On lap 11 we started getting the hang of this track. We gain almost 3 tenths by the end of turn 4. We brake a little too late and we have to take avoiding action into turn 5, but don't lose too much time to our PB. Turn 7 was so difficult to set up, with it being such a blind corner in cockpit cam, but if I wanted to set a perfect lap we only had to do it once. After the Venetian we are 5 tenths up, going into another tricky corner of turn 12. We didn't nail it, but this was our best run so far. 7 tenths up going into turns 14 and leaving 15 and 16 with over a second gap, and a great exit meant our time was still climbing. We was 1.5 seconds faster going into the top 35%. It took us 16 laps to improve again. We were already 5 tenths up in sector 1, then 7 tenths in sector 2. We gained 3 tenths down the back straight. And finished this lap 1.3 seconds faster with a 1:33.5. This lap was good enough for the top 16%, just 1% off my goal. We had set such a good lap, and with only tiny margins to improve on we had to lock in. On lap 57, almost 30 laps later on, we're trying to send it into every corner, but I know I had a bad run in the final complex of corners, so I just had to survive until then. On the exit of turn 16 we were 1.5 tenths up on our delta. Will it be enough time gained? We finished 2 tenths faster with a 1:33.280 and we set a top 13% lap time, completing our challenge for 2 out of 3 of these tracks. Can we make it 3 for 4 at Qatar? Starting our last 100 laps here in Qatar, a very fast, flowy, flat track with loads of visibility. This should be fun. It is an amazing track for quali runs like I'm doing right now, but very tricky in an actual race to overtake anywhere but the back straight. I'm already getting a feel for the track. Turn 6 and 7, always 6-7. And turn 10 are very tricky corners to brake as late as possible and get a clean exit with no lockups or understeer, but they also make the most fun corners. We set down our first lap with a 1:26.5. Onto lap 9, we have a massive lockup in turn 10 and slide off the track, somehow not invalidating, but it doesn't matter, we're still 7 tenths up. Through turns 12, 13 and 14 are all basically flat out, besides 14 that requires a lift off. We gain over 2 tenths. Then by the exit of 15 we're over 1.3 seconds faster. Rounding the final corner 1.5 seconds up. Destroying the DRS board and setting a 125 dead. Skipping seamlessly onto lap 14, we had a great first 2 corners, keeping 3 tenths up throughout sectors 1 and 2. Heading into turn 10 we make it through perfect and gain loads. Finishing the lap 8 tenths up with a 124.2 and we get into the top 36%. By lap 18 we were starting to really get a feel for this track. We gained 9 tenths, setting a 123.3 and we were into the top 23%, only 8% off and with 80 laps to go. On lap 33 we had gained so much, but messed up by turn 15 which broke our muscle memory and we lost all our time in the final corner, leaving with less than a tenth. We had well and truly hit a roadblock with no improvements for over 50 laps and I was losing my mind. Onto lap 86 here, we are equal to our delta almost everywhere. We gain 2 tenths in turn 10. And we don't go off track in turn 15 which gains us even more. Somehow, with an even worse final corner than before, we lost it all again, setting another time improvement of less than a tenth. And then, by lap 99, the EA servers had died, so these laps would not even save to the leaderboard, so I'm just going to have to guess how well I do in the leaderboard. I had a great final corner and finished this lap 1.4 tenths up, setting a 123.1, which cannot be any better than 20%. And lap 100 was already in the bin. We had completed our challenge on 2 out of 4 tracks, and with cockpit camera and no assists, I think that's a great accomplishment. We had tried incredibly hard to beat this challenge and I didn't give up throughout all the pain I'd suffered. This was fantastic and very fun to make and I hope you all thought so too. I love you all and if you have any game suggestions please let me know, I'd love to hear what you all think. Thank you all so much for watching, please subscribe and I'll see you in the next video.